Hello, so welcome to this part on my series looking at just sort of getting started with some basics of modular synths. I have added, you may notice if you're kind of watching these in sequence, it kind of grows on every video. Yeah, slightly obsessed with buying new modules. I'm kind of almost run out of money now, so it's going to have to stop, but it probably won't. But anyway, what we're going to look at in this one is couple of the simple modules, but very useful modules. So we're going to be looking at the A138, the mixer, and also this one, the multiples one, which isn't a that's the only thing actually in the setup that's not a dope for module. This is actually really useful. I think this cost me about 19 quid off eBay. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit about what that means, what that does in a second. So let's just deal with the mixer first. So the mixer is fairly straightforward. It works like a normal mixer. You can have up to 4 different signals input into it, and then you've got the output. I've also pimped up some of the knobs, you may notice, because I'm not a massive fan of the dope for knobs. I find them a little bit, particularly if you got, I mean, I've not got massive fingers, but they're a little bit chunky, and when they're kind of a little bit hard to get hold of. So I got these, I got like a 10 for about 2 quid off somewhere from China. And they just slide on, and they work quite nicely. So at the moment we've just got a simple patch going. So what's happening is we've got the sawtooth is going. That's the output. The sawtooth is going into the filter. The output of the filter is going into the audio one in of the amp. For this, I'm using a micro brute, which you can't see, but is over here. Just to send out CV and gate signals. So we've got the pitch out, which is the CV out, going into the pitch control 1 volt per octave there, 1 volt per octave on the VCO, and then we've got the gate out from the micro brute going to the gate input on the envelope generator, and the envelope generator is then sending out the control voltages from there to the CV in on the VCA. So that gives me an envelope so I can change all those, which I've covered in previous videos, so I'm not going to go through that now. So we can use the mixer for, because obviously the VCO we've got here has 3 different waveforms on it. So because we've got the sawtooth that we're using at the moment, we've got the square, and we've got the triangle. And that kind of works in a similar way, actually, to the micro brute, because that's got all these different. It's got one oscillator, but it's got different oscillators with it, and we can mix those together, which we will do now. So first thing we're going to do is let's just turn all the volumes down on the mixer. So at the moment, our oscillator is going straight into the filter. So I'm just going to take that out, and I'm going to put the square tooth, there's no such thing, sawtooth, into input 1 of the mixer. Okay, we're then going to need to take the output of the mixer and reroute that back through the filter. So let's get another cable. We'll take the output of the mixer, and that's going to go to the audio in. So we've now got, we'll turn the volume up on the mixer. Okay, exactly the same sound as we had before. Okay, so nothing massively technical there. It's just rerouting your audio. So what we can try and do then is we'll get a few more cables. So we're going to put the saw into input 2. So that one, we're going to put the triangle to input 3. Okay, so I've now got instant access just with a dial to my 3 oscillators without having to keep repatching them. So if I just turn input 1 down, we turn up input 2. Do it that way so you can see it. Okay, we've now got the square. Okay, modulation going there. If we turn that one down, if we turn up input 3, we've then got the triangle. And we can mix them together. So we can have triangle with a bit of sawtooth. Okay, so there's just the triangle. Bring a bit of saw in. And bring a bit of square in. Okay, so you can get a nice blend of those 3 different outputs from that one oscillator, which is very useful. I've also added over here the A118, the noise random generator thing, which I'm going to look at in more detail on the video when I look at the sample and hold thing. But obviously we've got white noise there, so we can also use that as a sound source. Well, we've got white noise and we've got coloured noise as well, but if we go with white noise, we could put that into input 4, and then we can start to bring a bit of noise in if we wish, or we can have just the noise. Okay, so there you go. There's an explosion sound. Obviously, so if you want like a, let's take the release down. Okay, so great for sound effects, great for kind of really old school, I'm thinking very old 1970s human snare drum sounds there. With a little nice release. Quite nice. Let's put a bit of a delay on it. Okay, so from the this actually we've also got coloured noise, so we've got a mixture of blue and red noise. So blue noise, if I remember rightly, is a kind of a higher frequency or a higher pitch. You can't get pitch on noise, but higher frequency. And then the red is, you can hear that bringing in lower. Okay, so we can blend that in. Okay, so the mixer, dead simple, but very, very useful. Obviously, we've then got the main output of the mixer, as we said before, which is going into the filter. So, like I say, we've got instant access to all of these sounds from the oscillator and also the noise generator just at the turn of a dial, which is very useful. So that's the mixer. And then the multiples, which you may not know what they do, they basically kind of divide the signals out. Now, I have used in the past, just one sec. Okay, you may have seen in my other videos one of these cheap things, which basically does the same thing, right? So when that's plugged into one thing, we can split the signal and we can get 2 outputs from it. So as an example, let's say we want, let's go back to the white noise. No, we'll stay on the coloured noise. Okay, so that coloured noise I may want to use as a sound source in the mixer as well. I may also want to patch that into the sample and hold, which if you watch the, I think the next video is going to be sample and hold, you'll see what that does. But obviously this has only got, if I want that specific sound, okay, this has only got 1 output. So a simple way of getting around that is, we're going to take that out there. Basically the way the multiples work is that you plug your output, sorry, your input, or your output, your sound source, let's say, or your CV source, or your gate source, whatever it is, it will do the same thing. Okay, goes into the top one. If that will reach. No, it won't. Let's try a different cable. I need to get some... so a ridiculously long cable just for that short distance, but anyway. Okay, so when that's plugged into that top socket, these 3 bottom sockets will now output that signal. So basically, I've now got 3 copies of that signal. So I could send the first one back to the mixer. So that's output 1 4. And then I could send, say, the second one into my sample in on sample and hold, and I've got that sound source there. So it gives you the opportunity to route, split signals and route them in different places as and when the need is necessary for doing that, if that makes any sense whatsoever. It's going to get rid of that for now. Also works, like I say, with gate signals and CV signals. It will split basically any signal. And the great thing about this as well is it doesn't take up any power. It's a passive unit, so you just screw it in. It doesn't need to be plugged in. And it just does the job at about 20 quid, and it's very, very useful, because there's times when you think, hang on, I need to send that signal there and that signal there, and I can't do that because I've not got enough inputs and outputs. So the multiples is a very, very cheap and very useful addition, I think, to your modular setup. So that's about it on this video. we'll leave that one here, and then in the next one, actually we'll have a quick look at the audio divider in the next one. And then we've got the other ones we're going to look at then are sample and hold and the slew limiter, which are coming up in later videos. I've also going to be looking at some MIDI to CV conversions as well. And I think that will be pretty much most of the modules covered then. So thanks for watching. Hopefully that was of some use to you. And I will see you in the next part. Like and subscribe to the channel, the videos, share them around. Check out my music if you wish, if you like my kind of stuff on Spotify or iTunes or whatever. And yeah, I'll see you in the next part. Thanks for watching. Cheers.